Hi everybody, I'm Hayden Crawford.
And I'm Shani Chambers.
And welcome to Wellness Uncut.
Hi.
So good to have you back here, Shani. Do you know what? I love
so good to be back.
I love our filming days. I absolutely do. You're a joy for me to be around, and you always bring in such beautiful energy with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, which is actually isn't what we've been experiencing today, is it? It's been like full on.
It's the topic.
It is the topic. What is today's trending topic?
So usually we just cover a trending topic for about, maybe 10 minutes or something, but we've realised that this is huge and just everything that's come up around it since we've decided to do it. So the whole segment, pretty much, we are exploring narcissism and narcissistic tendencies, narcissistic traits, how to navigate your way through narcissistic relationships. We'll dilemma for how to navigate narcissism within families, and kind of really cracking the lid open a little bit on that subject because it's huge, isn't it?
It is huge, and it's such it's kind of like something that's totally misunderstood as well, the whole notion of narcissism. And we want to try and clear up some of those kind of like misrepresentations of this alleged sort of disorder.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel it's really important that we do have the information out there, because I know that when I went through my first narcissistic relationship in my early 20s, I had no idea what was going on, and all the gaslighting, all the manipulation, all the blame, all the lack of responsibility on his part, all that stuff I didn't understand, and I was constantly, calibrating myself around his behaviour rather than just being, hang on a minute, that's not okay. And, since, the age of Facebook and stuff like that, we have so many articles out there about narcissism that I really wish that was around in my 20s. I would have saved myself years of pain.
Absolutely.
Maybe I wouldn't have, but who knows?
Yeah, you probably would have still gone through the same stuff, but you would have just been aware of it.
Yeah, I would have been like, that's what's going on. Oh, maybe I should stop that. A year later going, yeah, it's still happening now.
But we're also going to be speaking to Annie Mae from Alchemy, Body and Soul, who's written a beautiful new book called You Got This, and actually asking her opinion on narcissism as well. So the main feature of today actually is going to be focused on this because it is such a broad topic. So I'm so excited to get started. But first of all, I think what we should look at is, what we have been kind of told are the traits of a narcissist, because obviously, we all think it's one thing, but actually, it's a... Oh, is that yours? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we want to just go through these quickly, don't we, Shani? So yeah. The first trait is instantly likable. Okay, so like I know I am, and you certainly are.
Surely I'm likable, so does that make me a narcissist?
Well...
I've got the number one trait.
You've got the number one trait, absolutely. What about dominate conversations?
We just created our own chat show so that nobody could interrupt us. So, that's 2 out of 2. What else have we got? Okay. Do
you have a fear that you're not good enough inside?
Yeah, that was huge. I've done a lot of work around that, but I think kind of everybody does, don't they?
Well, I don't know about everybody else, but I know I do. So, number 2, definitely.
That's still the second one. Okay, yeah.
Assume leadership. Assume leadership, yeah. Trying to, at least.
Leaders in the field.
Yeah, and, that's a big one, really. Shy and withdrawn.
Yeah, I very much can be. Hugely.
And do you inwardly resent other people from time to time?
Yeah, I will, but then I'll have a look at myself and be like, well, what have you done to create that? So,
okay.
But yeah, I do.
There's the next one. Social climbing and promoting themselves. Yes, absolutely.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Outer image rules. Well, you've got your own dress label, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And your hair's always so beautifully fluffed as well.
Yeah.
Detesting criticism and being hypersensitive.
I'm definitely very hypersensitive. I don't like people not liking me, so receiving criticism, I really don't like it, but I do love it because I take criticism when it's been given you know, with the best intentions.
Constructively.
But I don't like it. I don't think anyone does.
No way. I hate it. No, it puts me off people straight away if they criticise me. So don't do it, okay?
Yeah.
And then disastrous past, yes. Disastrous past, Shani?
Guilty.
Yeah. Guilty as accused. And then taking everything personally.
What do you mean it's not always about us? Yeah, I take things personally way too often. Learning not to.
And then addictive behaviour, absolutely. Well, and that can be like anything from like sugar, alcohol, people, you know, places, work, absolutely anything, all of those. So if we were going to go by just those 10 traits that are, you know, you can just basically get a list of this off Google, you know, and you would think that you were a narcissist, wouldn't you? Well, I mean, according to this, I am, and
we got 10 out of 10. Woo!
But is this really narcissism? Is it? What do you think it is, Shani?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I think we need to accept the fact that we all have narcissistic tendencies, but there is a psychological disorder that you can be diagnosed with, and true narcissism is the inability to be able to display empathy. So you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes. And it's a complete lack of responsibility for what's going on in your life. So the narcissist will show up in one of two ways. They will show up as the hero or the victim, but never the perpetrator. And the thing is that we are all the things. You know, we are the victim, we are the perpetrator. We can come in and be the hero as well, but you know, we have to be able to really own our shadow, and it goes a lot deeper with narcissism, but they can't own their shadow, and so they project it out onto everybody around them, which makes it really, really hard to deal with.
And we have to sort of confess that, like, we aren't the experts, are we, on narcissism? So, you know, if you want to find out more about it, then go and see, I don't know, like a psychotherapist or a shrink or a doctor, I guess. But you know, we've had our own experiences along the way, and this is kind of like how like we're interpreting it. So I was trying to get that word out there, but yeah. So you know, I think that for me personally, I mean, I've been in relationships that I have called narcissistic in the past, but now that I've learned more about it, I actually feel like they just demonstrate traits of just being into themselves and not thinking about me as much as I'd like them to. And actually, you know, that whole role that I fell into, having a narcissistic relationship, you know, I very much played the role of the victim, but I definitely drew some sort of strength from that. So I really had to question what it is that I was accepting as, you know, the behaviour that I was willing to allow into a dynamic like that.
And I really love how you said play the role of the victim, because, you know, it is a role that we're playing in relationships, and it is what are we attracting and why are we attracting it, because we can actually become narcissistic in our own blame of all the narcissists, you know, because we're not taking responsibility either, and we're not, you know, having a look at what it is that we're doing to create that. And I think, you know, there's a lot of information out there about the attraction between an empath and a narcissist. And what actually is really going on over there is that, you know, we're trying to learn lessons. That's why we attract the mirror of what it is that we kind of need to learn. So if you are too far one way, too far into empathy, then you will attract a narcissist to balance you out. It is the polarization of that lesson that you need to learn. Whereas if you could learn the healthy balance between selflessness and selfishness, and actually having that strong boundary and honour within yourself, that would make you a bit more whole and complete, then you would be able to attract a whole and complete partner. So to really heal through this, we actually need to have a look at what's going on within us to be attracting that, you know, because it's so quick and easy to blame, and then it just, you know, and we had to do a lot of work on setting the room up for this segment. Because, you know, we're dealing with really painful shadow and really really dark energy, because, and it's not, what happens with narcissists, to really cut it down into what's going on a deep psychological level, is that they've got such a high level of self-hatred and inability to own their own shadow, which we all have, that to be able to cope, they have created a psychological split, and they've created this perfect persona. And in creating that perfect persona, that's what they demonstrate to the world. But this is still very much linked to them, and it still has to show up. So what they do is they project that out onto everybody else. Everybody else can see this, they can't. So we end up having this really, and the more that we split off and deny shadow, the bigger it gets, the more momentum it gets, the more energetic attachments it has to it. So because we're kind of tapping into that energy today to kind of bring some light to it, we've had an interesting morning, haven't we?
We certainly have. Technology seems to be going black on us, as we speak. So, we're it's just so strange. But, it is a scary subject, and it's definitely one that has attracted quite a lot of very unusual people to me along the way as well. So, we want to shine some light into this whole, illusion, really, and help you to understand it better. Now, what's quite interesting is like when Emma Romano, she put a post up on her Facebook page yesterday and just asked a few questions, see if people have got some interesting viewpoints on narcissism, and actually the post, it got a lot of engagement, and a lot of people had loads of questions about it, and we've actually compiled some of those, the best of those questions, to go through with you today, because we really want to sort of give you some really quite deep insights. So, Shani,
do you want to start?
Yeah, I could start if you like. So the first one was Kate, actually. Kate Fulu, or Fulos, I think she might be called. And she obviously says there is a lot of misunderstandings about narcissism out there. It's a very, very loose term. And that's why we kind of addressed that right at the beginning, because, it is known as narcissistic personality disorder. So, it's actually a diagnosis. And she was like, well, not all assholes out there are narcissists, so, although we'd like to believe that they are, because when we get hurt, we just want to label people, as being something so that we can kind of pathologize them.
Yeah.
And, really it is an actual disorder. It's a personality disorder. It is diagnosed, so try not to be too flippant around that. But she says, well, what about the victims? Are they narcissists too? And, I just really think that's such a great question, because if you look at the traits of a narcissist, one of them is that, they can be quite passive as well, but secretly resent. So, it's almost like absolutely the victims can mirror the narcissist's behaviour. And, and it was something that you were talking to me about earlier on, Shani, wasn't it? When you were saying that, you, in relationships, sometimes that you kind of were expecting those behaviours to show up, and if they didn't, it would make you feel like they didn't care. It was almost like that pattern was being emphasised and highlighted for you, so you could address it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more with some of the questions around narcissism in relationships. But yeah, we really do, as a victim, if we don't take responsibility for the fact that we have on some level created this relationship, then yeah, we're just playing straight into that same narcissism ourselves of, oh, it's everybody else's fault. So yeah, it is. It really is. And I think we've got to look at it more as narcissistic tendencies, because we all have them, and how to really, to counteract that is just to step into radical self-responsibility of going, how am I contributing to this? How can I change this? What work do I need to do? What shadow am I not owning? And how am I going to work through that? And how can I actually make sure that my actions and the things that I'm doing aren't having a negative impact on others? Because, it's that narcissistic, oh, well, this is me, take it or leave it. That's your shit, deal with it. That's not helping either. So it's a case of really everybody looking at themselves through this.
All right, thank you so much, Kate, for that question. It was great.
Next question from Susie Landers. Hi, Susie.
Hi, Susie. We love Susie.
Yeah, we do. We spend a lot of time with Susie. She's great. So she's asked, are people born a narcissist or do people become like that? Such a good question. And I want to look at it from a couple of different avenues. I guess with people who've got that very strong the strong narcissistic personality disorder, they are like that and there's not much that you can do to change. So yeah, they are born like that. And they're born like that for a few different reasons. So sometimes, they have come in because, this is not our first rodeo. Our soul has been through many, many, many other lifetimes. And sometimes they have come in with so much pain and so much guilt and shame and self-loathing from what they've done in previous lifetimes that it's already a massive scar and a massive split that they can't look at their own shadow. So when you're looking at it like that, yeah, they're born with that pain, they're born with that psychological split. But what also happens is that we, on a deep soul level, because it's through all this pain and trauma and challenge that we learn and we grow and we evolve, we need them. We need them. We need to have those people that are choosing to come in this lifetime and be the perpetrator so that we can learn those lessons. So it's actually all perfect that they are born like that.
It is. It's perfect, and when you strip it back to that, and it's a hard concept to get your head around, the fact that you would have chosen to have been, kicked around by an asshole. But, it's the way I kind of, how I integrated this information really was through the colour mirrors. And this bottle in particular helped me understand what it's all about. So this is the evolved sacral chakra colour, so it's called Suchness, and it's orange on the top, which in colour therapy is about shock, abuse and trauma, and pink in the subconscious part of the bottle, which is about divine love and unconditional love towards itself. So really the bottle is recognising it's called Suchness because it's like recognising that the people in your life that, that you construe as being your baddies actually loved you enough to be able to teach you those lessons that you needed to learn in this lifetime. So, it takes that whole notion of you being a victim out of the equation.
Yeah, I love that. We're never really the victim unless we choose to be the victim. We're just playing a role where we can learn and grow. And what happens is that we either have these experiences and for example, I've been in a few too many of these relationships. They just kept finding me last year because there was a lot of lesson in there for me.
It was 5, wasn't it? You're greedy.
I know.
You're a narcissist muncher.
Yeah.
Whatever that
Guilty. So, and I didn't seek them out either. They all seeked me out. They found me on Facebook. Some I already knew, some just infiltrated and wanted to get to know me. And very quickly I'm like, holy shit, this is another narcissist. And it was quite painful for me because I'm like, well, why am I attracting this? And is it them or is it me? Because I'm the common denominator right now. So I was also looking at it okay, is this just my belief system that I believe that, all men are narcissists and therefore I'm attracting them? Or can I not see clearly because, of my past experience and what's just happened that I'm projecting that onto someone else? But what happened last year is that I got to really delve quite deeply into healing what was going on for me and how I was attracting. And I got to really analyze a lot of information about what was going on and why that was happening. And it was beautiful because each time I had massive opportunity to heal and grow through and become more whole so I could attract something different. And then I could heal and grow through and move on. And now I'm in such an amazing place to be able to attract something very, very, very different. But what happens if we go into the victim mentality of it, of thinking that it's everybody else's fault? We sit with the wounding, we don't heal it, we don't own it, and we don't learn what it was that we did to attract that. So it will happen again, and we'll go deeper into our wound, and we won't own it, and we won't heal it, and we'll attract it again and go deeper and deeper. So it is really about radical self-responsibility, whether you are the narcissist or whether you are on the other side of the scale with that.
Did you find that there was one particular narcissist that you attracted that you learned deeper lessons from?
Yeah, there was one, the first one that I ended up in a relationship with. It was someone that I thought I knew really, really well. I'd known him for 2.5 years. We'd been really good friends. He was meant to be a life coach and personal trainer, and he was meant to know all this stuff. But we got into a relationship pretty much overnight, from being friends for 2.5 years to straight into a relationship, straight to moving in with me, and straight into a nightmare. And it was really horrible, and it was really painful because I also knew that I had like a lot of pain in my heart and stuff around relationships that I knew was going to come up for me the minute I opened my heart. So me taking radical self-responsibility, I was constantly looking, okay, well, this is how he's showing up. What have I done to create this by, my belief systems or, my perception of what's happening, So yeah, that only lasted 9 weeks because I was getting healing like every week, shifting and shifting and shifting into a place that I could actually see things clearly. And also I had quite a lot of people coming up to me and saying, Shani, he is not who you think he is. He's just a really good actor. And I found out a lot of really bad stuff. So I got out of that one really quickly.
Wow, just as well.
Yeah, there was some really dangerous stuff that he was doing that I had no idea about as well. So I got out of that really quickly, 9 weeks, and he was living with me too.
So was he like diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, or where did that term come from for him?
Well, he hasn't been diagnosed with anything. But what came up when I did, because I have got the most amazing healer in the world who sees everything and can really, really help me a lot through it. I've been seeing her for years, but she was helping me clear up all the patterns while I was in it so that I could start to see clearly. And then once I got out of it, we went to clear all the attachment, all the connections. And this is what's really interesting, and this, kind of just goes back to what I was saying before with the big psychological split, which I've always known about. We did all this work having to clear the connection between us, and then we had to do it with his alter ego as well, because I really was dealing with 2 different people. So
wow, that sounds so intense.
Yeah, it was. I feel sick just tuning into the energy of it again.
So even though you'd worked on yourself, had he worked on himself as well, or not?
Well, he's apparently done all the work, but you've got to embody the work. You can't just learn it and preach it. You've actually got to embody it. And I think, in his alter ego he was, but in those other aspects. And also, I didn't realize it at the time, but there was a lot of heavy drugs involved that he was taking that I didn't know about. And I think that really changes people as well. So
it changes the whole dynamic, I think, when drugs are involved. But again, that's a trait of the addictive personality that comes up with the narcissist as well. So do you feel like you've moved on from that?
Oh God, yeah. I was really dark for a while. I had to not work and stuff because it was really painful that I had experienced that, and how could I have attracted that back into my life again, And so it took a couple of months after breaking it off to really heal deeply through that. And then I was back doing my thing, feeling really good, and then another one comes in. And this was really interesting because there was a part of me that's sitting there going, because I'd known this guy for over a year. He'd been trying for over a year, and I'd been like, nah, because I knew that he was not really that good of a person. But for some reason, I had to go step into that again to discover what was going on. And it was really interesting, the stuff that I learnt in that. You know, I was doing a little bit more research, and I learned some really important tools about dealing with narcissists that I then applied. And because I'm sitting in this whole space of, is he a narcissist, or am I just believing that everyone's a bloody narcissist, you know? So I actually applied some of these rules that I learnt, and one of them is narcissists will not respect your boundaries, especially with time. So, and this is a big one, that, you know, narcissists really love bomb you to begin with, because, you know, they put you up on a pedestal, they tell you how wonderful you are, and they want to, because of their own self-loathing and their own pain, they have massive attachment issues. So they will attach really quickly. And because of my own abandonment issues, I was just sucking right up into that, because it's like these guys would just come in, they would love bomb me, they would tell me that they wanted me to be their girlfriend very quickly, so they would offer me all this security. And, you know, for someone with my wounding, that was like, oh yeah, please, you know.
Yes, please.
Yes, please, you know, just wrap me up and tell me everything's gonna be okay. You know, so I was like, shit, this is why I keep on falling into this trap, you know. But this time, because I had that awareness that, shit, Shani, I think you're getting into another narcissistic relationship here. You know, he was trying to, you know, fly me over to meet his mum, and, you know, we might have known each other for a year, but we spent one night together. Must have been a good night.
Must have been.
But he's like trying to move it along that quickly, and the intuition's going, this isn't good. So, you know, when I learned that they don't respect time boundaries, and I tried to slow it down, he went off, and he was not happy. And then I explained to him, it's like, look, you know, I'm feeling a bit of fear. Like, this is quite scary for me, you know. Entering into any new relationship with my history is scary, let alone trying to do it that quickly. And as soon as I went in to explain to him that I was feeling fear, he just verbally attacked me even more. And I'm like, well, if you can't display empathy for where I'm at, and, you know, understand that, hey, look, I've got a bit of a history, and that I just need things to slow down a bit, then he straight away was like, I've got plenty of empathy for you, and then attacked me again. And I'm like, okay, this confirms it. So yeah, that was really valuable information for me. To recognize how quickly they try to move things along, how quickly they try to secure you, and when you try to slow them down, or, you know, show some boundaries, that they don't like it, and so they go into their own defense and attack, because their ego can't handle it.
Yeah, so they start throwing their dummies out the pram. It's like, I want her now. You know, and it is childlike behaviour in a lot of ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would your advice be then to anybody who finds themselves in a toxic, you know, union like that?
Wow. Get some healing, get some distance, get some space. Because, you know, I couldn't see it when you're in it because of the manipulation, whereas, you know, I've done a lot of work to kind of clear what was allowing me to be manipulated to the extent that I was. Once you kind of step away from it and see it from an outside perspective, then you're able to go, wow, this is really not healthy. So, you know, it can take a lot of healing, and especially, you know, if this is your first time in one of these relationships and you don't recognize the patterns, and you need to get a lot of awareness about what these patterns are. And if you've been in them a few times, then you really need to do a lot of work to go, what is attracting these? You know, so I had to really sit with, well, what is it that I'm attracted to in these relationships? And it was the security that they were offering me to begin with, you know.
Okay.
Massively.
Yeah. So it goes back to survival, yeah?
Yeah. And it's interesting because now I'm seeing things on the other scale of things, and, you know, I'm seeing a really beautiful, genuine, sweet man that's definitely not a narcissist, and because he doesn't have that same attachment style, and he's quite casual, and, you know, I'm not hearing from him 1,000 times a day, and he's not trying to move things really quickly. It's just nice and casual, and what we would define as healthy. I'm freaking out and being like, oh my God, he doesn't like me. Oh, I better shut this down. You know, rather than being like, hang on a minute, this is normal behavior. This is actually healthy behavior. So, you know, and that actually goes into that a question that Lynn Powell asked. She said, if it feels like love, it looks like love, how to recognize a narcissist that you believe that you love. The thing is that if you've had these kinds of relationships, and that's kind of what you have associated love to feel like and to look like and to be like, and you spend so much time kind of calibrating your behavior around a narcissist that you have learned some really, really unhealthy patterns. So yeah, if it looks like love and feels like love, honey, you need to think about what do you think love is, and what have you experienced love to be like in the past, because you'll probably just walk straight back into that same trap. So one thing that, you know, as I was going through this last year, I was having a lot of clients going through the same thing, and so it's very easy to kind of give that advice when you've just been through it and being like, this is what I wish I'd done differently. Document everything. Write it down. What came up for you? What happened? How did you try to explain it? And what did they say? Because you don't realize all the gaslighting and manipulation that goes down until you actually go back and be like, oh, and this, and this, and this. Document it. Actually write it down, because that's when you've actually got in black and white what's actually gone down.
Well, see, otherwise you just feel like you're going insane, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Because
you really do.
Well, and it happened to me, like, there's probably been probably 3 or 4, actually, that I've had before I met my husband. When I was 30, I met my husband, but up until that point, it was disaster zone for me with relationships. And, you know, probably the worst one was when I was working as a holiday rep over in Halkidiki in Greece. And I met somebody and, you know, got all the love bombing thing very quickly. He told me that he loved me, and I was deeply insecure as well, because I would, you know, I'd become a holiday rep after leaving Australia, and I didn't want to stay in the UK, so I was kind of just trying to fill time in until I could get back to Australia. And, you know, I didn't know where I was supposed to be in the world. So when he showed up and he started telling me how much he loved me and all of that, I just wanted to hang on his every word, because it made me feel like I had somewhere to be and that I belonged somewhere. And he must have seen my vulnerability, you know, he must have done, because, like, it wasn't the only thing that was going on at that time. There was a lot of negative stuff around me, but, you know, it actually culminated in physical violence, you know, and I'd never been involved in any sort of physical violence ever before, you know, emotional abuse or mental abuse and all of that. Yeah, you know, I'd grown quite accustomed to deal with that, but not physical. And it was one night we were out, and we were sitting at the front of a coach, actually. We were guiding a tour, and it was like a pub crawl, so it was a late night one, and he just grabbed me by the throat and he went boom, like that, and I got this big gouge in my throat, and I was just like, it felt like somebody else's life, like it wasn't really my thing that was happening, and I couldn't understand why I'd allowed it to get to how it had. But he'd broken me down so gently, well, not gently, but like slowly over a period of time, that I hadn't even realised I'd lost all of my confidence, and that I was just almost accepting the fact that that was kind of normal. And then a few weeks later, I was at the top of the stairs in his apartment, and and I can just remember standing there, and he was there. We were getting into this argument, and I almost had to wake myself up out of that scene, because I could almost see myself being thrown down this staircase, and I had to kind of like wake up and go, "What are you creating in this scenario?" It was almost like I was contributing to that scene. Like I was almost wanting him to do it, maybe to get me out of that dynamic. I don't know, but it was pretty scary, because it was at that point I realised that I was co-creating that whole situation, and really it wasn't the blame passed on to him. It was partly me wanting to be punished for some reason, and it could have been that it's, you know, all of that stuff that I came in with, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of blame, persecution. I know, you know, now from doing work with you, that I'd had some quite, you know, sort of intense past lives where I'd, you know, been quite nasty with people, you know. So maybe I came in with all of this desire to be abused or punished or whatever. But yeah, it got really, really bad. So it's a horrible, horrible sort of situation. You don't even realise you're in it sometimes until it's too late. But you've just got to trust your gut. And if you're feeling like your intuition is telling you to get out, just do it, because they certainly won't want to let you go.
No. Leaving a narcissist is the hardest thing you'll ever do, so you've really got to cut all ties. You've really just got to block them every way, place and form. You might even need to get some heavies to tell them to stay the fuck away. It's hard. It's really hard because their ego does not want to let you go. Not at all. Not at all. Because if you walk away, then, that plays into their old shadow of self-loathing, and they cannot handle that. They'll do anything to make sure you're not playing into what they don't want to look at. So
yeah.
But I really loved how you said the co-creating and what you're kind of going into in that relationship and that real low toxic behavior, low vibrational behavior. Because the thing is that we can't show up in a beautiful, healthy, loving way with a toxic partner. We can't.
No.
We have to play on their level, otherwise the relationship doesn't work. So it really can bring out the absolute worst in us, where we're actually looking at it just going, well, how am I doing this? This isn't who I am. So it is really a case of radical ownership of what's going on for us, and why are we sitting in that, and why are we allowing that, and kind of taking ourselves outside of it a little bit and seeing the bigger picture of what's really going on.
Yeah. Now, Bistra Dean. Okay, so she said, can narcissists be helped to mellow their ego? All right, and is their behaviour a camouflage? Have they been hurt in the past? And I think that that's the key to it, really, because of course they have. They're so hurt themselves that they just want to project that hurt onto you. And it's not that they don't love you initially, because I think that they have feelings, or they you bring some sort of light into their life, but then they don't like that light and they want to snuff it out. So they've been hurt usually, and it could be numerous different things that would have hurt them.
But if they're not willing to take responsibility for their own pain, then you can't really help them. We can't heal anyone that is not ready to heal. Like, it doesn't matter how many sessions you have with how many different people, the best in the business. It comes down to self-responsibility. And if someone's not ready to be responsible for the part that they play in something, then no, you can't heal them. And, that is the crux of what's going on for the narcissist, is that they believe it's not them. They believe it's everybody else. So it's like working with an ego that isn't willing to look at itself is very, very difficult. So, yeah, I think it really just comes down to, rather than trying to heal everybody else, let's just focus on healing ourselves. And if we're coming from a very whole and healed place, then we're going to show up differently.
Absolutely.
And if we show up differently, we're going to attract something different.
That's right. We've got another question about narcissism, haven't we, for Emma Romano, and it's more around narcissism within the family dynamic.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
We are going to
Dilemma. How good is Emma?
Oh, she's amazing. Every time she nails it, doesn't she?
She really does. I get to fly over tomorrow to Melbourne to go run a retreat with her. So
You go tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm going
God,
tomorrow.
I didn't know.
Tomorrow morning I fly out, so I'll be over there for like 10 days.
Oh, how amazing.
Excited.
I saw that place as well that you're going to be doing your next Bali.
Oh, the Bali one.
Amazing.
We upgraded to even more amazing accommodation, and it just feels so good.
Why don't you just... is that fully booked? Is that one?
Got 2 spots left.
All right, okay. Well, go on, tell everyone about it because it just looks incredible.
Okay, so me and Emma run a 5-day practitioner training, Release, Rewire, Inspire certification for self-empowerment coaching. So I'm about to fly over to Melbourne to do it, and we also fly over to Bali to do it later on in the year. We'll have to book another one for later in the year because this one's nearly filled up 6 months in advance. So this will be our 3rd and then our 4th one. So we train practitioners in the 4 dynamics of healing, which is your conscious mind, that you need to consciously be able to understand and examine why we do the things that we do. The unconscious mind, which is where all the programs and patterns are held. So we teach you how to get in there and change the programs and patterns. Energy healing, because everything is energy, so we have to shift the energy as well. And soul level healing, because this is not our first rodeo. You can't just heal this lifetime. We have to go in and heal that. So we step into a bit of that as well. So we teach over 30 processes that you can then take your clients through. We've had both beginners and very, very, very experienced practitioners do the training, because what me and Emma do is very different to what anyone else does. More than 80% of it is original content. So whether you are brand new, then don't worry. We explain things very, very, very well. We're very good teachers, and we have very small groups to make sure everybody gets it. Or if you're a very experienced practitioner, we're still going to teach you some stuff that you would not know and have never seen before, because it's original, and we create processes that combine those different levels of healing. So yes. And
so if someone wants to get involved in that, then how do they get the last 2 tickets?
Reach out, send us a message via Facebook or however else, via my website. Get in contact. We'll have a chat with you first. We need to make sure that we are the right fit for you and that you're the right fit for the group. And we'll just have a chat, make sure we're on the same wavelength, and go from there.
Get in quick.
Yeah.
2 places left.
Hugely transformational,
Yeah.
because we don't just teach you how to do these things and you take each other through it. We also process the crap out of you. So we are each day really watching every person, seeing what's going on for them, and taking them through processes in the moment, stuff that's not in the manual. So you'll actually, if you actually write down a lot of the stuff that we do, you'll actually realize that there's a lot more than 30 processes. So
Wow.
Yeah, very transformational. And also then you can walk away with the tools to help your loved ones, your clients, your friends, your family. Yeah.
And your narcissistic partner.
No, don't help them. Get away from them. No, I got really stuck in trying to help mine. And that's one thing that I was just so grateful for, and one thing I was so proud of this year or last year, even though it just kept on showing up, is that I showed up very differently each time. So my very first one when I was in my 20s, I stayed in that for years. And then last year I had like 5 guys show up, and the first one that I actually ended up in a relationship with for 9 weeks, that completely blindsided me. So there was no way that I could tell. None of us could tell, because we had all seen his alter ego. It wasn't until his shadow side arose that everybody else could see it too. And funnily enough, like even the most amazing psychics and intuitives and healers around me didn't see it either, because we weren't meant to see it, because I was meant to go through that process.
Yeah, because I even remember that, it came up through something that I said, and I definitely didn't pick up on that.
No.
And actually neither did the cards I was using, so...
No.
Don't trust Doreen Virtue's oracle cards.
No, and it's that whole thing is that we are not meant to see what we're not meant to see, and so in that whole process, even Emma is brilliant. Like, she's straight on the money with everyone. She didn't see it either. It wasn't until her son Jack saw a photo of him and he went, "Who the fuck is that?" She's like, that's Shani's new boyfriend. He goes, he is not a good dude. She's like, what do you mean? Yes, he is. And this was just before he had actually started showing his true character. And then not long later, I'm on the phone going, Emma, I don't know what the hell is going on. And then she started seeing it too, intuitively seeing it. So it really was such a split of personality disorder, you know, which can be a lot of... And that's actually one of the questions someone asked us. We didn't really want to go into it because we're not experts, you know, but how does, you know, other things like personality disorder, bipolar and
schizophrenia, autism,
like how does all that play into narcissism? And you know what it comes down to the wounding, and it comes down to the inability to see outside of ourselves. And you know, when we are wounded, we can't see what's going on for other people. You know, people who've got, you know, their brain wired differently, they can't see what's going on for people. They're just stuck in their pain. So you know, a lot of narcissistic tendencies do show up in lots of those different things. But yeah, I think we're getting sidetracked. Where was I?
Well, you were just about to go into the final question that we had doing today.
This is a good one by Rita Joanne. She said, how can one trust another soul again in regards to a relationship? So having been through so much trauma with narcissists, how can one step into a new relationship with trust? Passing that one over to you, Hayden, because you've done it.
I have, and you know what? It was probably one of the hardest things that I ever had to do, because when I met my husband, I was in Madeira, and you know, I didn't even have any feelings at all towards him when I first met him, because I was closed down, because I'd just come from Greece. I'd been really, really badly hurt, and it was the last thing that I wanted. So, you know, when you know, Mark started showing me affection, I was just turning my back to it. I didn't want to know. So it took a long time, and he had to be very, very patient with me before I started opening up to that prospect again. And it was literally, I had to just examine his behaviour and see if his actions mimicked his words. And every time that I was feeling vulnerable, you know, he overcame that every single time without fail. And the red flags weren't there. You know, the alarm bells weren't going off. I felt secure opening up. I was understood more than anything. That was the most important thing to me, that I finally felt understood. And I finally, I fully opened my heart. And it was during the time actually that I was doing my Reiki training. And during that process, we were in Benalmadena with our Reiki master, Julia O'Rourke, and she was getting Mark to open my heart through using Reiki. And I actually one day, I remember feeling it kind of blossoming like a big rose in the centre of my chest, sort of expanding, and I knew something had shifted. And I was then able to just allow, you know, in this really healthy relationship. And it's, you know, fortunately we've been together now for like 27 years. And you know, there is hope on the other side. Really, there is. You know, you just have to. You might not necessarily go from narcissist to narcissist. You know, and I didn't necessarily feel like I'd done healing in between. All I had done though was stand up for myself and go, this is not acceptable. I'm not prepared to, you know, to sort of continue with the previous relationship with the person who caused me all that grief. And I think probably it was in that decision, in me taking a stand and saying I'm worth more than this, that could have changed the whole point of attraction. I'm not sure.
That's beautiful. You said some really, really good valid points in that. And, you know, one of the biggest ones was like straight in the feels. It's like each time you felt vulnerable, he kind of really came and picked up and looked after you in that. And one thing I've noticed, that when I've felt vulnerable, you know, with the narcissist, it's not safe, you know, and they make it a lot worse, which makes you kind of put your guard up more. And just noticing that those red flags aren't going off, you know, you're seeing all the green flags and seeing something different. But, you know, one thing, you know, when it does come to trusting another soul, I think it really does come down to being able to trust yourself, you know, being able to trust that you can get yourself out of it and that you can see what's going on clearly. That one was a big one for me, especially considering because I just kept on getting them. Obviously, the first one got it, like last year, the first one got in for 9 weeks. The second one got in for about, 2 weeks. And then the next ones, I was able to just be like, no, I see what's going on here, no. So yeah, like, I do trust myself to know the difference, but there was a while there where I couldn't decipher whether I was just going crazy or whether it was, so you've really got to do a lot of healing so that you can get solid within yourself and be able to trust yourself. And then, yeah, it is such a scary process, and one thing that I'm finding, just because I'm just very casually dating a guy now, I don't even know if it's going to go anywhere yet, it's just still very fresh, but that is so much harder, because it's different, it's different to what I'm used to. Like, I know that old pattern, I know how to show up in those relationships because I've spent a lot of time having to calibrate myself around those people. I know that my last serious relationship with a good guy was 10 years ago. He was a really beautiful man. For 2.5 years we were together. And that was really hard for me to step into that too, because the one before was so toxic that I just kept on wanting to run, and it's one of those things that, when you are safe, that's when a lot of your stuff will come up, and you really have to kind of lean into it and really start to analyze, like, so much little stuff. Like, in the couple of weeks that I've been seeing this other guy has come up for me, and it's like, it's actually really hard work. It's kind of painful because you've actually got to really examine what's going on for you and actually start to shift through it. But at the same time, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to clear that stuff up and actually start to see things from a different light. And I think also the knowing that, I have the skills to learn through each relationship, that even if it is damaging at the end of the day, because I choose to learn through it and heal through it rather than go back into wounding again and again, that, I can trust the bigger picture. I can really trust the bigger picture. But yeah, I'm struggling to trust him. He's given me no reason not to, but I keep realizing that, it's me not, expecting the worst, basically, is what I'm doing. And it's, you have to really self-examine yourself and start to shift that shit.
It will be a bit like that at the beginning, but I think the more and more he shows up and supports you when you are feeling vulnerable, you that will dissipate. It really will.
Yeah.
So, like sometimes when the penny finally drops, that's the end of it. You can literally move on and go into something that's going to support you for the rest of your life instead of repeating the same cycles. And for you, you've learned enough about that. You are an expert. I mean, I know you're saying you're not, but you actually are through experience.
Yeah.
You are, Shani, and so am I, because I've freaking lived through it as well. And first 30 years of my life, actually, I just realised as well, I'm 57 according to the calculations of how long I've been together with Mark, because I said 27 years when we got together at 30. That makes me 57. Boy, I look good for 57. Don't I look good for 57? We've only been together 17 years. So I'm 47.
Still don't look a day over 30, darling.
I know.
Love it.
Fantastic. All right then. Well,
but yeah, I just want to say to Rita, go there, do it, try again, because it's not until we really face our fears and really try to put ourselves back out there that we can work out whether we've got more work to do. Like, I actually spent, a few years ago, I chose to do a year of celibacy, and then I chose to do a second year of celibacy because it was so painful, trying to date with all my wounding, that I needed to take a break. But guess what? I didn't learn anything in that time. And as soon as I went back to the dating world, nothing had changed because I wasn't doing the work. I wasn't putting myself in the position to go, have I cleared enough? Am I good to go? So by hiding away and being like, I don't trust, I'm scared, that's not going to help either. Sure, you need to spend some time healing, doing the work, getting yourself back into a good position, but you've got to put yourself back out there, because it's the only way that you can either find love or find out what needs to go next.
Absolutely. Throw yourself back in at the deep end. So don't allow past hurts to dictate future behaviour. It's pointless, you know.
Yeah.
Because we're here to learn and grow. That's all you have to
Yeah.
remember.
You know, we know that, narcissistic behaviour, which is really a controlling, silent behaviour, personality disorder, they say it in some circles, draws an empath to them. So it's often a narcissist and an empath in a relationship that are drawing energy from each other, because essentially that's why we're in relationships, because we're drawn to another person's energy. And in some ways, the old way of thinking was that you complete me, and which is so, unattractive in so many ways, because we need to feel whole before we can go into a relationship. So the narcissist and the empath are like, they come together like that because they think one draws from another. But what we find with narcissistic behaviour is that it is a bit of a silent killer, and it does make the empath a victim in so many ways. And it also twists the mind of the victim, because they actually think this is normal. And the narcissist, who's, and they say that it's a learned behaviour, so we're seeing one or both parents, passing that on, or a caregiver perhaps. Passing on narcissism then means that this person really doesn't have the confidence, and they're portraying that they do, and they're controlling another to, I think, draw that energy from them and actually boost their own ego, because it's a very egotistical behaviour that they're exhibiting, and it's so detrimental. And, it's then, long term, I think, it elevates the narcissist to be able to become narcissistic to a broader audience, and then the victim often gets medicated or has to get help, and the conscious creation then helps to. I see a lot of empaths, and I go, if you could wave a magic wand, would you be in this relationship? And they go, no, I'm too scared to leave it. So it's about getting back that power and saying, well, these are the tools, and it's about changing your self-belief, because in order for us to develop and grow as a person, we actually have to increase our own self-belief. Our self-worth is everything, and empaths just have that taken away, and the narcissist takes it because they don't have it, so they take it from the empath. So it's this whole kind of contorted relationship that doesn't serve anybody, and it's insidious, isn't it?
Well, listen, once again, if you want to go on to Shani's retreat, remember to get in contact with her after show. I'll leave some graphics underneath as well, so that you know exactly how to contact her. And also, just a quick plug as well, I'm doing a numerology course as well on the 9th of February, Sunday the 9th of February in East Fremantle. I've only got 2 places left, so if you're keen, message me. All right?
I might as well do a quick plug too. So Emma and I are running Soul Business Alignment in February, which is the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of Feb. Friday night, all day, Saturday, Sunday. Give us a buzz if you want to know more about that. I'm also running the DNA process again, which is for experienced practitioners only. 7th and 8th of March, 6th and 7th of March in Perth, and then over in Melbourne on the 18th and 19th of March. But we've always got lots going on, and also offering private sessions as well. So if you feel the call to work with us, then reach out.
Definitely have a session with Shani with her ancestral clearing. I had one a couple of weeks ago now, and it was incredible. So beautifully guided, and I felt instant release. So it's absolutely fantastic, and that's clearing sort of ancestral patterns going 7 generations back and forward. So it was amazing. We've also got just one final plug, Soul Nourish. We do still have some.
Yeah, a couple of spots have become available.
Yeah, we've got a couple of spots available. So please contact us if you want to be nurtured through a whole weekend in May in Rockingham at the most beautiful waterfront accommodation. Then get in contact with us, and we'll give you all the details.
2 full days with yours truly. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be insane.
Awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So Thanks.
Bye for now. Bye.